following program on Ada Derana 24 is classified as PG. It is intended for younger children in the company of an adult. It may contain some suggestive dialogue, infrequent coarse language, some sexual situations, or some moderate violence. Viewer discretion is advised. The following program contains opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed without any censorship and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
Hello and welcome to another episode of TPS, where we discuss about the most relevant and contemporary questions that is happening with regards to the political landscape of Sri Lanka. And we have been discussing about different topics, themes and dimensions which are really essential for the people to know answers through the political leaders of different parties, be it your day-to-day topics or be it something beyond your day-to-day topics. So today's topic is nothing new, but something we have been thought through, or we can see, or rather we've experienced. The future of political dynasties, end of an era or reinvention. So to discuss about this topic, I have two guests over here. Towards my right, I have Mr. Damitha Wickramasinghe representing the SLPP. Welcome you to today's program.
Good evening.
And also towards my left, I have Mr. Sajana Sooriyarachchi from the UNP. Welcome you as well.
Good evening. Good evening, Presenter.
All right. So now today's topic, as I said, is nothing new, but we are going to discuss about the futuristic aspect of the dynasties. Now, long talk about the history and starting from the Jayawardhanas to the Rajapakshas and the most prominent figures, I believe, which we can mention when it comes to dynasties, when this particular name is being mentioned. So do you think that the political dynasties have long defined the Sri Lankan politics? And with regards to last year's presidential election, do you think it is taking a different turn? Because President Anurukumara Dissanayake is not a person who's coming from well-known dynasties or rather a dynasty per se. So do you think it is taking a turn with regards to the political landscape of Sri Lanka?
Well, Prashant, thank you very much for the opportunity. First of all, I would like to say that we have to define what dynastical politics is. If you take the South Asian context, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, yes, there have been a few families who have been in politics and also basically governing those particular countries for a long period. But I would like to correct you in terms of dynastical politics. I think my party leader or the Rajapakshas do not fit in, because the simple fact is, until Mahinda Rajapaksa became the president of the land, yes, the Rajapakshas were in politics. They were not, sort of making the crucial decisions or running the government of the country, right? That's one thing. And you gave a very good example on talking about Mr. Dissanayake and the JVP. But the JVP has a different kind of dynastical setup. Now, if you take their general secretary, Mr. Tilwin Silva, I think he is only second to my friend's party leader, Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe, as a tenure sitting at the top. So isn't that also not dynastical politics, right? It's not like the JVP every 5 years, like in a Western democracy. Once a leader, loses the election, may it be from the government or opposition, the Western norm is for that particular leader to resign and give somebody new the opportunity to, take affairs forward. But the JVP also, in that sense, has been a dynastical setup, because there are only very few people that we know have been, leading the party, including Mr. Dissanayake. So whether dynastical politics is good or not, we will have to go into detail, right? Now, if you take now our party leader, our national organizer, Mr. Namal Rajapaksa, he is on his own accord capable enough, and he has, his own skill set to be in politics, even if he was not Mahinda Rajapaksa's son. So, I mean, being a president's son shouldn't qualify you to become a leader, but it surely should not disqualify you, because then it's a grave injustice done towards a person's ability. So that is how I see dynastical politics, and we can discuss in depth in the next round.
I believe that is a very well take on the first question itself, because what I asked was, is there a difference? But rather, Mr. Damitha made sure to show a broader picture as to how essentially his party politicians, and also specifically after 2024 end with the presidential election, what happened. So now I'm going to direct the same question to you. In your perspective, do you think now with political dynasty, once again, now your party does have a different approach with regards to that? It might not be essentially coming about through families, but then again, deep down, the historical references, the historical alignment and whatnot. So what do you think about this? Do you think there's a change with regards to after 2024 what happened, or is there not any change per se?
So, precisely to answer your question, I think I would like to take on a more local approach to the context, right? So, post-independence from 1948, Sri Lanka has the power of the political dynamic had been held on by a few very powerful families. It's from the Senanayakas to the, the Bandaranayakas, then more recently the Rajapaksas. We cannot discount them as well. So, with the 2022 Aragalaya that took place, I think we have seen a very big change in the sentiment of the people. Now, what brought this change, or why we are having this conversation, would solely go down to 2022. Before 2022, we did not have these problems, or we didn't even have these conversations. It was in 2015, Mahinda Rajapaksa went home, Maithripala Sirisena was brought in, then people bought the same Gotabaya Rajapaksa from that same family. But what happened is in 2022, there was a lot of anger, frustration that was built up due to the economic crisis. And when that came, people were looking for leaders. And also the current government, what they did was they basically rode that wave of, anti-establishment wave and sort of came to power. But one thing that needs to be remembered is the UNP has always been a party that has risen up for the challenge, irrespective of who has been the leader. One can argue saying that, the UNP is a bit more of a dynastical family, especially from J.R. Jayawardena to Ranil Wickramasinghe to the Senanayakas to the Wijayawardhenas. But, President Premadasa is someone from the complete, outside circle. Then he's not an elitist, he's a common man, and he has brought and he has done great things to this country. And also looking at the 76 years of post-independence, every leader of this country has contributed something to where we are. I mean, Anurakumara Dissanayaka went to public school, he went to university, he got educated and finally became the president because, Ranil Wickramasinghe brought about reforms as the education minister. So you cannot always, say dynastical politics are bad, but in this context, I do feel that there is a change in sentiment. But end of the day, I think what we need is, not leaders with surnames, but competent leaders. You can have all the surnames in the world, like my friend said, and then not be a competent leader. But you can also not have a surname and be an incompetent leader. And I think what we are seeing right now is more of the latter than the former. So I think it's a bit of a debate to be, spoken about at length.
Yeah, very true. I believe what the common public sees is they align dynasties to be through the surname specifically. That's how they come about with this discussion. Even when we look into the the narrow aspect, not going in detail, but we see, okay, this person came in power, then the brother, or else then a relative. So with all those notions coming up, now the young voters, so they have like a proper say with regards to all the situations that happened from 2024 to the local government elections per se as well. So why they voted, as Mr. Sajana also mentioned, is that they wanted sort of a reform, a difference. So now in that context, do you feel like the new people who are getting involved in politics are rather coming up with a different perspective, or they are bringing forth the same perspective that the old politicians are holding within that party?
Well, Prashant, I feel, analyze the Aragalaya in detail. Like we have seen in several countries in the region, it was a really nicely engineered, articulated conspiracy. And it has been now unveiling in the White House. It's not me who's saying that. President Trump himself disclosed that close to $200 million were used for regime change in countries, including ours. So, saying all that, I think, then at that particular juncture, yes, there were lapses from President Gotabaya Rajapaksa as well, but I must also tell you, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was also elected by the people of this country. So, until that watershed moment of the Aragalaya, Sri Lanka, with all its flaws and whatever hardcomings we had, we never experienced any regime change or change of government through agitation or conspiracies. So that was a very first for the country. And also, if you look into detail, now when the opposition leader went to the agitation ground or the Aragalaya Bhumiya, he was almost killed, right? They were throwing stones and bricks and brooms and whatnot, right? And some of the people who were throwing bricks and stones, they are quite visible within the current government in parliament, right? And at that time, at that very moment, when Mr. Anurakumara Dissanayake visited the agitation ground, he was garlanded and he was carried into the premises. So then the common man should also be wise enough to raise the question, how come, okay, we can say it was an anti-government sentiment and agitation happening, but how can the opposition leader be almost killed, right? If it was an anti-government program, right? The opposition leader has to be welcome, no? He was almost killed, and one of his MPs almost got trapped because, the security, got the opposition leader into the vehicle, and the poor MP was left behind. And he was almost, we as a party, we have gone through that. One of our MPs was brutally murdered on the streets, right? So this is the kind of, the real happenings of the Aragalaya. Yes, there was an economic crisis due to COVID, and Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was not wise enough to understand how politics works. But saying all that, he genuinely had intentions to do good for the country. Even, the organic fertilizer matter, which I was very against, even at that time. Within the government, I was very vocal against that, because I, for a fact, know that, the most advanced countries who have, tried out organic fertilizer, they are not even achieved 20% of the crop ratio. So, yes, there are genuine sentiments. Yes, the new generation, they want to, if the economy is changing, if the private sector is changing, of course, they feel that the political spectrum also needs to change, but that particular change has to be for the good. Now, what we are experiencing, now how the affairs are managed, and especially the economy is managed, I don't think they have done a wise choice.
All right, so that is actually a very fresh perspective as well with regards to in detail matters as to how people need to see with regards to the dynasties and also the scenarios and incidents. So let's dig deep into what about the future of the dynastical system of this political landscape of Sri Lanka. Before then, let's go in for a short commercial break. This is TPS. Welcome back to TPS. We were discussing on how the current situation of the dynastical framework of the political landscape of Sri Lanka has been perceived by different people per se and also with different parties. So let me direct this question to Mr. Sajana, of course. So now the UNP, as you mentioned itself, is built upon by prominent figures in the history when it comes to politics. Now, with that regards, how do you feel like y'all are breaking the chain with regards to advocating for more youth participation and also giving them a little bit more say to get involved in direct political, I would say strategies or new reforms whatsoever?
Well, I think the UNP has always been a place for youth. Most of the leaders at some point or the other has started off with the UNP. If you take the history, all of the SLPP to the SLFP branched out from the UNP. It was SWRD Bandaranaike who left the UNP to start off the SLFP. So UNP has always been in the center and the core of the development of future leaders. And right now the UNP we are doing a membership drive for the youth, and Youth Front Chairman is actually heading it. And we are attracting youth, and I would like to take this opportunity for youth who are interested to come and work with us, to come and join, because we are always looking for fresh young blood. And I believe that it is the youth of this country that need to drive the message, because the youth is the one that voted for a change, and the youth should always have an alternative if this, sort of system change that they hope to achieve does not realize. And right now with this current government, I personally, most of the youth, I don't know, would say that, they are still hopeful, but it's been 1 year and still nothing has changed. The price of food is still the same. The price of fuel has now gone down. They promised all these things. And, I remember at one point they said they are going to save the money from the president's office and, start building schools or 1,000 schools or do all of those things. But I don't see a single school being built other than maybe a tap or a bathroom that they open. So I don't think that is the change the youth are looking for. And President Wickramasinghe has always been an advocate for the youth, because, he established the National Youth Services Council, which my friend was at one point the chairman also. And then, the universities, the education, all of these systems that are in place, some may say they have failed, but whatever systems that are in place are there because of his leadership. And I think that with us doing this membership drive, we would hope to achieve, fresh young youth who are genuinely interested in the betterment of the country, not where they would want to see just a system change, taking up arms and burning down houses and seeing violence. That is not the kind of youth we want to attract. We want to attract youth who will genuinely make a difference and who wants to see policy changes, and really want to see reforms driven, not going on the road or just asking for something petty, because that is not what I believe the UNP is built on. UNP is not built on petty politics. UNP has always been built on strong policies. And the best example is, if the Aragalaya, everyone can chase out governments and all of that, but no one thought what next. No, when they bailed it out, and if Ranil Wickramasinghe he didn't take it up, we wouldn't have been here. And end of the day, when he handed over this government to the current government, we gave them a 5.3 GDP growth. And right now, after 1 year, they've taken it, it's 3.5. So if they can't continue the same trajectory which was handed over to them, I don't see how these guys are going to continue. With that being said, I once again take this opportunity to invite the youth And really, we would love to work with the youth and, have more member participation and actively join, maybe even contest in some point.
Thank you so much. I actually asked this question is because sometimes with the current situations, the circumstances as well, youth feels like they are the change makers that can actually take a bit of the direction towards another side from dynastical approaches. So now with regards to your party, of course, I would say there had been a very big rooting in terms of the youth base with the youth council and whatnot. And now with the NPP government that has come to power, do you think this has been something that you all can overpower and work for the youth? Or do you think the NPP government needs to stand strong for the youth in this country?
Well, the NPP is doing the job for ourselves, First of all, if you take the Youth Council example, the National Youth Clubs Federation was never politicized until this NPP, setup came into power. And that itself, within the system, agitation rose up. So now the youth have realized, for almost 40 years, young people of this country, they had a mechanism to come up through the National Youth Federation system. So when this particular government, which they voted in to, change the system has changed for the worst. So in that sense, the NPP is doing our job for ourselves, and it's making our job easier. Coming on to youthful leadership, I think particularly our future presidential candidate, and I'm quite confident the next president of this country, Mr. Namal Rajapaksa, is the only candidate, even during the last presidential election, who spoke about all these new economy and all these, new economic ventures, from crypto to gig economy to whatnot. So in that sense, we have a leader who understands the new world, who understands the sentiment of the youth of this country and what kind of changes they are looking at. Now, for instance, we have a couple of ministers of this government who hold crypto as their assets. But according to Governor Nandalal Veerasinghe, crypto is not a legal tender in Sri Lanka, right? What I'm saying is, crypto being an internationally so savvy tech financial product, what we have to do is to get it regulated and get it legalized in the country, right? But what is this government doing? Without even the knowledge of knowing that they have some illegal assets declared, they go to the extent and, publicize it. So we must ask the president, now are you going to keep a couple of the speaker as well as a cabinet minister who have declared digital currency or cryptocurrency in their asset declaration, which is according to his own, governor of the central bank, which is illegal. Is he going to keep them in the cabinet or not? We must ask the president, because, cabinet is the highest, authoritative body in the country after the presidency. And if you have someone representing the cabinet with illegal assets which are not accepted by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, what measures are you going to take?
Yes, I'm going to stop you from there. So we have been taking the perspective of how the youth representation happens in the local system of politics, because that is essential to get with regards to a different direction of the dynasty. So let's dig deep into what the dynastical future looks like. Before then, let's go in for a short commercial break. This is TPS. Welcome back to TPS. We were discussing about the dynastical system of the political landscape of Sri Lanka and how the futuristic innovation with regards to the perspectives of different parties come along today in this program. So my question is actually to Mr. Sajana. Now, when it comes to the current system, most of us, or ideally the common general public, feels like the dynastical political system actually weakens the democracy. That's what they feel like, as if it narrows the leadership. So do you have this kind of a perspective, or rather it can be seen in a different perspective, or it can be utilized in a better way?
Well, firstly, I don't think I agree with that statement, because as you see from post-independence, we've been a very strong democracy, and not a single instance have we seen where the transition of power has been sour or no one has ever refused to go. And also, one must keep in mind that every single president that has been elected through the democratic system. We have had through elections, and most recently President Wickramasinghe, who was elected through parliament. But then again, that is also through a democratic process. And mind you, this was also after a president was chased out. And it does not matter from what family you come or who you do. Everyone has, I feel, the opportunity to sort of contest an election. I mean, you saw, if you take this local government election, for example, there was so many independent candidates, and they do not come from political dynasties or political parties per se. And some of the candidates have actually won their wards and won their electorates. And we have candidates in parliament who have gotten in, for example, a very popular candidate these days from Jaffna. You know, he contested from an independent party and he came in, and contesting independent from an area like Jaffna, where there's heavyweights and there's dynasties, there's castes, there's everything you mentioned in the north and the east. And someone contesting independently and coming through, I think, is a good statement to say that our democracy works. And even for President Anurukumara Dissanayake to win the election, he had to contest the election in this, democratic system. And he, like people would say, he's not from a political dynasty, but he still had the opportunity and the equal chance to, contest the election. So the question is not whether the system works or whether this democratic system only allows certain influential people. That is not the case. I think we have a brilliantly set up system where anyone sort of can get into the political sphere, provided you have the will and courage. Politics is not easy, and you take how long the NPP took for them to come to power. So, you have to have the, the patience to endure it, but if you do have it, you definitely can provide it. But I think something that is changing is, though, that the shallow promises wouldn't work anymore. People have evolved, and I also feel that, there's more of a vote base that, would not stick to a single party. They would shift depending on who has the better policies. And like we saw in this election, most of the SLPP vote, one could argue, went off to the NPP, and whereas the right vote, because the right is currently split, stuck in one place. So given all of that, I think I do not agree with you that, these dynasties would fail. And even if you take the democracy would not work if dynastical families are there. And even if you take the global South Asian context, right? You take Pakistan, for example, you have the Bhutto and the Sharifs, and Imran Khan came out of nowhere, and he came in and he won an election. But then where is that country now? Where is Imran Khan? Imran Khan is in jail, and the people who he chased away are now back in power. So that's how a democracy works. People have to have the freedom to choose who they want, irrespective of whether they come from a political family or not. And I don't think, like what Mr. Wickramasinghe said here, I do not think that being from a political family should bar you from contesting an election, or not does that should give you a privilege into having an upper hand. So maybe these sort of, but given the practicality, maybe some would argue that there are certain, privileges that come attached. But I think with reform and policy changes, I think those things have to change, and that is what this government is there for, and that is not our job. So I think if they really want to change the system, they have to bring in acts. They have to pass laws and reform what actually the younger generation, actually the Gen Zs and the millennials want to see, where then the ease of entering into politics becomes. And honestly speaking, I do not know whether with the current setup where you go into parliament and your salary has to be donated to a party, anyone would be enticed to even get into politics unless, of course, a young person has made about so many million rupees. Because end of the day, it's supposed to be a career. So if you take Singapore for an example, the politicians are remunerated extremely well, and that is a reason why corruption is minimal. And if this current setup feels that they want to eliminate corruption, I think they also need to look at really, remunerating their younger MPs so that attracts a quality crowd. We don't need quantity, I think we need quality. And right now we have 159 MPs. Maybe some are young, some are old. And I can ask you, can you name me 15 MPs? Yeah. Would you know 15 MPs to name? You wouldn't know that, and that is a very sad state of affairs. If the voter in the ward does not know the MP that is represented by them, how can any change happen?
True, very true. I believe the statement that quality over quantity actually fits in right for the question as well, because it is what matters is the quality, not the number of people who are getting involved in the political system or in the execution of certain political objectives and strategies. But then again, something with regards to the current context, with the recent scandals with aligned with the Rajapaksha's family members as well. Now, in that regard, do you believe now a public perspective was that the trust that they hold with regards to your party and also the dynastical figures like former President Mahinda Rajapaksha and certain individuals who are getting involved in politics have been a little bit of a mismatch. So do you think now, with regards to everything that happened in the recent context, that your party's purview or the people seeing in terms of your stronghold in political landscape of Sri Lanka is been tarnished?
Well, Prashant sir, can I ask you a counter question? How many Rajapakshas have been convicted? So this, political mudslinging started from, the Vyapalane period. Now they are, doubling it down and taking it forward. But any of the Rajapakshas, yes, there are allegations. Allegations are not being proven. No? So that doesn't mean any of the Rajapakshas have committed a crime. Of course, when you are a strong, political force, most of your enemies will try to take you down with any, sort of possible way. So saying all that, I think the people or the public or the centre-left leaning voters, especially the nationalist voters, have come to realize now this government came on a mandate on anti-corruption and anti-nepotism. Now their own former presidential candidate and General Secretary, Mr. Nandanagula Tinaka, is saying that the current bribery commissioner or the Director General was part of the JVP, legal setup. So is that transparency? Is that independence? Now, if you take the police force as an example, who is leading the police ministry as the secretary? Minister, of course, any government will be a politician, but the secretary is the NPP retired police personnel's organization chairman. And the director of CID is the secretary of that organization. So this kind of politicization we have never seen in the history of this country. And touching upon nepotism, of course, Prashant Sah, it's not unique to Sri Lanka. And if we take the most vibrant of democracies, UK, Canada and USA, how many Bushes were in the, were contesting and got elected? How many Kennedys, right? Former Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau's father, was also a Prime Minister, right? Likewise, in the British system, you have, lineage, because what we have to realize is sometimes there are certain families who connect well to the people, right? For instance, now if you take UNP leader, Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe, he is the grandson of D.S. Senanayake. Although his father was not into open politics, we all know Mr. Esmond Wickramasinghe was the, brains behind the UNP. So likewise, when you are now, then if we argue on that basis, you have to prevent an artist's son getting into music, right? That also can be, described as nepotism. And journalists getting into, journalism. If your father was a journalist, why should that prevent you of becoming a journalist? So, this is just for, political rhetoric and deceive the masses. One thing I must tell you, from John Doyley's time, the youth of our country, based on the context of that time, were deceived, right? We were a nation where, we kicked our king out of power and, handed it over to the British in a platter. So that sort of deception has come down. Only difference is the periodical context. So I propose to the youth of this country, be vigilant, be attentive, and be analytical, right? Whatever YouTuber or some crazy person online says will not get you. It will not secure your future. Now, for prime example, what did Mr. Disanayake promise? He promised a Vitz car for 2 million. Can you at least get a decent bicycle for 2 million?
1.2 million.
1.2 million, yeah. Can you get a decent bicycle for 1.2 million? Right? He promised the reduction of electricity tariff by 30% or 1/3. Now it has increased by 10%, right? It's worse than what was before, right? The period where Sia was eating, cashew nuts, as they, they were, saying on their political stages. And also, we were told that, there is a sort of a bribe happening going into the petroleum minister's pockets of 150 or 160 rupees per litre. So has that 150 or 160 been reduced? So my proposal or my my advice to the younger generation of this country is, please be vigilant. Don't, fall for, this kind of political rhetoric, because that will not make you gain anything or make the country gain anything. So we have to be vigilant, and irrespective whether you vote for the UNP or SLPP or whoever, NPP, remember this is our country. Country must come first, and you must make sure that the country is led or steered by able people, unlike what we have elected this time. As Sajana correctly said, out of the 159, I cannot even name the cabinet, irrespective of naming 15 MPs, right? All are unheard of. They had 1 year, if they delivered, we would have, known everybody's name, with the, ancestral Vasagam and all that, right? So that's the, very sad state of the country.
All right. I believe that was very well brought out as well, be it allegations, be it deceptions, be it whatever that you see or hear or try to feel like it's something correct. It is vital and important for the youth, as he mentioned, to specifically dissect and get into the very root cause of why this is happening and why it has been established. So as a final remark, Mr. Sajana, I want to ask from you now, be it all these dynastical systems or differences, or particularly a change of a system as we see with the previous governments as well. Do you think there is something that should be changed with regards to how this current government is taking over the political activities in Sri Lanka currently?
Well, yeah, I think they need to go home, simply. If you're asking me what needs to be changed, because I frankly don't think they're delivering anything that was promised, You take the public trust. You see the same farmers and the doctors and everyone who went on to support them and vote them in are now protesting. You take the teachers who voted overwhelmingly to support them are now getting passed a bill where they can't even punish a child and put them in the right path. So how can you build a generation or generation that will actually say useful civic citizens if you cannot correct a child's wrong? And I'm not talking about capital punishment. If you have read the act, you can see that even if you scold a child and say don't do this, that child can call the police and take the parents to court. So is that the society they're trying to build? I do not know. I don't think these guys are doing a good job at all. Then you take the anything else. You take the way they have been performing over the year. Every time they do something, they make a debacle out of it. But to be quite frank, it was everything that we have been doing when we were in government that they're carrying forward. There has not been a single new project they have initiated. But they always try to claim credit for everything. And change, maybe painting a bus stand and all of that, they might think they're mega projects because they're not used to doing these things. But those are not the projects that, the people want. People want to see change. People want to see accountability. Accountability, I feel, is completely lacking in this government, although they promised it. Like I saw the industrials minister at a show that was held by your channel. He said, if someone gives me money and I take the money and then there's no problem, why do you care? Is it bread for you? I mean, is that the sort of change people want? I don't think that is the change the youth, as youth, I don't think that's the change anyone would want to see in any government. Be it the SLPP or the UNP if we were in government. I don't think it has ever been this bad. We have never openly had, every government would have issues, but one would come on media and say, it's okay, you give me money, if you like to give me money, I'd like to take it, but then it can't be a problem.
Open invitation for corruption. No?
So if that is the case, then I can go to the industry minister and say, look, I need to get some sand permits or whatever, or pull up a factory, here's 10 million bucks, okay, I'm happily giving it, you take the 10 million. So where does it stop? What is the line that is drawn, and who is asking the questions? Who? like my friend Ms. Wickramasinghe said here, the police is controlled. The bribery commission is controlled. So who? What is the point in even going and lodging complaints? Because it's unheard of. So this sort of nepotism is also sort of nepotism in a different way, because one centralized committee sort of controls the entire state apparatus, and that is something that we have never seen in this democracy. And the way certain remarks are made by parties, we actually genuinely fear that they might be going into a one-party system. Because, Tilvin Silver, goes to China and comes back and says, no, we need to stay in power for 30, 40 years. And the way they are hunting the opposition down for completely baseless allegations definitely looks like they are wanting to eliminate the opposition and stay on for the foreseeable future.
Yes, I'm going to take it from there. A very short remark from you as well, Mr. Damitha, with regards to the same question.
Well, Prashant, now transparency and accountability of this government, that was the major promise, no? And they were also, talking about enriching the nation. Now, if you take the recently, unveiled Central Expressway project, the contractor is the same contractor who was before. And that particular contractor was paid 35 billion as a penalty. And the price has escalated 4 times. So if that is the way how you, enrich the nation and save public assets and all that, I think God help the country. So in a concluding note, we, of course, understand the suppression that they are going to unveil, and as opposition, especially if you observe matters in parliament, it's our leader, Namal Rajapaksa, who continuously keeps on, taking this government into account. And we gave fair enough period for Mr. Dissanayake to perform. And within the year, like my friend from the UNP said, there are no materialistic deliverables. So I think it's time for the people of the country also to unite behind us, and we will make sure that their 30, 40 year one party governance system becomes only a dream that they carry forward, not this country.
All right, thank you so much. I believe that was fresh perspectives from both ends as well with regards to the political dynasty and also the futuristic element connected to the contemporary relevance of political landscape of Sri Lanka, because I believe from 2024 it has been some sort of a system change that people perceived it to be, and also they were looking forward to. But then again, with the perspectives and the opinions and also the statistical information provided by both the parties, it is a question for you and I to always make sure what we listen to, how we react to. So I believe it was a very informational discussion today, and I want to thank Mr. Damitha Wickramasinghe, thank you so much, and also Mr. Sajana Sooriyarachchi, thank you so much. Well, thanking both the gentlemen for joining for a productive discussion. I want to remind you about the feedback. Send your feedback to this program as well as all other programs to our email at feedback.ad24english@then.lk or via WhatsApp at 076 805 7933. We will see you again with another episode where we discuss about the most relevant and pressing conversations that matter for you and I in terms of the political landscape of Sri Lanka. Till then, be safe, take care and have a good night.
Good times never seem so good. I've been inclined to believe there never was, but now I look at the night and it don't seem so lonely. We fill it up with only two. And when I hurt, hurting runs off my shoulders. How can I hurt when holding you? Warm, touching warm.